What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today we are talking about the Metropolitan Police. And I want to make this out clear from the onset. This is not a nice video. This is actually quite a horrible video. It's going to touch on topics that are going to be deeply distressing. So if you are a victim of sexual harassment, abuse, if you have been discriminated against based off race, if you've been part of a hate crime, if you've been subjected to homophobic abuse, racial harassment, anything of that kind, then this video is not for you. It is actually quite disturbing. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. I would happily, you staggering new report exposes disgraceful Met Police sham. And this is just another in a series of frankly disgusting incidents from the Met Police. This report has came out. This was by the Independent Office for Police Conduct. There's been multiple investigations into the Metropolitan Police. In 2018, following reports that a police officer had sex with a drunk person at a police station. Yes, a police officer had sex with a drunk person at a police station. Just think of the power dynamic there. You're in a police station, wasted off your head, and an officer had sex with you. Fucking disgusting. The Independent Office for Police Conduct then urged Scotland Yard to overhaul its culture of sexism, racism, bullying, and homophobia after a damning report found officers joking about R-wording women, beating up their partners, and killing black children. The investigation looked mainly at Charing Cross Police Station in central London and led to one officer being fired and others disciplined. I don't believe that they could have only fired one officer. Like, what? The IOPC said, "We believe these incidents are not isolated or simply the behaviour of a few bad apples. The string of uncovered WhatsApp messages identified horrifying behaviours from officers. In one message, an officer wrote on WhatsApp, 'I would happily R-word you,' while another officer was referred to as, I can't even read that. I can't even read that on YouTube. I can't read it. Further WhatsApp messages detailed police officers attending a festival dressed as non-sex offenders, and I can't even read the last of that sentence either. Sorry guys, there's a lot I can't read in this. Another wrote, 'Getting a woman into bed is like spreading butter. It can be done with a credit card, but it's quicker and easier to use a knife.' Absolutely disgusting. One officer wrote, 'My dad kidnapped some African children and used them to make some dog food.' Racist texts were also sent about Muslim fanatic, Somalian people, and others that referred to Auschwitz. The IOPC's regional director, Sal Nazim, said, 'The behaviour we uncovered was disgraceful and fell well below the standards expected of the officers involved.' I don't see how some of these were disciplined. Every single person involved in any of these statements should be immediately fired. In defence, Metropolitan Police officers said it was laddish banter. Yeah, they can fuck off. Investigators said colleagues were too afraid to speak out because they feared being ostracised for not joining in on the banter. The IOPC reprimanded claims of the messages being in jest and said they were nothing but deeply worrying. Serving police officer Wayne Cousins kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Sarah Everard last year, prompting Met Commissioner Dame. Wow, how's she a dame? Dame Crescenda Dick. How is she a dame? To order an independent review of her force's culture and standards. In response to the report, Deputy Assistant Commissioner Bas Javid said, "It's clear we have a lot of work to do to ensure bullying and discrimination does not exist in any part of the Met. I read their messages with increasing disgust and shame. We recognise that there is a need for real change in the Met, and we are committed to creating an environment that is even more, and we are committed to creating an environment that is even more intolerant to those who do not uphold the high values and standards expected of us. Well, you don't have high values and standards. It is being abusers that is your standard, and that is the real thing with the Met Police. That is why women and minorities are terrified of them, because they get abused by them. And that's not just me saying this. It is not just me saying this. More than 750 officers have faced sexual misconduct allegations since 2010, with only just 83 being sacked. The sexual misconduct allegations, 88% were made against officers, including accusations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and using a position of power for sexual gain. More than 750 Metropolitan Police Service officers and staff have faced sexual misconduct allegations in the past 11 years, with only 83 of them being sacked. A total of 771 officers and staff, 88% of whom were serving officers from the service, have faced allegations of sexual misconduct since 2010. Over the same period, 163 of the Met police officers were arrested for sexual offences, with 38 of them convicted after appearing in court. This is disgusting statistic. This is absolutely horrific statistic. Revealed the grim list of sex abuse claims against the Metropolitan Police. The force upheld 119 cases among 600 complaints. They include an officer who was sacked after having sex with a victim of sexual assault. Yes, an extraordinary catalogue of sexual misconduct allegations against Metropolitan Police officers, including claims that one had sex with a sexual assault survivor and another assaulted a domestic abuse survivor, are revealed in documents obtained by the Observer. The disclosures will intensify pressure on the Met after its officers manhandled women at last night at Saturday's vigil for Sarah Everard, where hundreds demanded the right to be safe on the London street. And it's not just women. Black Met police inspector, yes, one of their own police inspectors, was racially harassed by officers. A black police inspector is suing the Met Police for racial harassment after being stopped in his car by two white officers. Inspector Charles, I can't say his last name, recorded the incident in which he said officers stopped him without justification as he drove home from work in South London. He told the BBC it showed an abuse of power, and he was speaking out in solidarity with the black community. The Met said it found no evidence of misconduct. The 55-year-old had been driving home after his shift on the 23rd of May when he was followed for 2 miles by officers and stopped in Croydon, according to his complaint. As one officer approached Inspector, I can't say his last name, said he noticed that he had not switched on his body-worn camera, and for that reason he refused to leave his car. He said he then started to record the incident for protection, at which point the officer turned on his body cam. In the recording shared with the BBC News, the officer said Inspector blah 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 was being stopped for driving at speed, and it looked like he'd gone through a red light. The officer said he needed to see Inspector whatever's driving license and proof he was insured to drive that vehicle and that it had not been stolen, and to check he was not drunk or had been using his phone. He claimed Inspector blah blah's driving was unusual, which is he strongly disputed according to the recording. The inspector was then accused of being obstructive, and the officer said his own behaviour had been perfectly reasonable. It can be heard. These were alleged offences that could have ended my whole career, said the inspector, who has worked for the Metropolitan Police for more than 22 years. It's just disgusting. And then obviously, Sarah Everard, who was murdered by Wayne Couzens, who was a high-ranking Met Police officer. Couzens admitted to the kidnap and the assault and the murder of her. He planned this out. Couzens' choice of victim was random, but the attack was planned. In his sentencing remarks, Lord Justice Fulford said that there had been significant planning and premeditation by Couzens. The police officer had long planned to carry out a violent sexual assault on a yet-to-be-selected victim, who he intended to coerce into his custody, noted the judge. Couzens spent at least a month travelling to London from Deal, Kent, where he lived, to research how best to carry out his crimes. Several days before the attack, he booked a hire car, which he used for the abduction, as well as roll of self-adhesive film, advertised as a carpet protector on Amazon. After finishing a 12-hour shift at the US Embassy that morning, Couzens, parliamentary and diplomatic protection officer, that's how high up this guy was, went out hunting for a lone young woman to kidnap and abuse, the prosecution said. The court heard how Couzens used his knowledge he gained from working on COVID patrols in January and his Metropolitan Police issue warrant card to trick his victim under the guise of a fake arrest for breaching coronavirus guidelines. This is the Met Police. Nottingham lecturer strip searched by Met Police was frozen with fear. A Nottingham University lecturer said she was frozen with fear when Met Police cut off her clothes and strip searched her while officers used dehumanizing language. Dr. Koshka Duff was detained in London in 2013 whilst trying to give advice to a teenager who was himself under arrest. 9 years later, the Metropolitan Police have apologised to Dr. Koshka Duff for her experience in custody. In an interview with ITV News Central, Dr. Duff said the officers degraded and dehumanised her. The philosophy lecturer says, I was pinned to the floor of the cell by 3 officers. I was handcuffed behind my back. They were kneeling on me and kind of hit my head off the concrete floor, and they were kind of strangling me with my scarf. They tied my legs together and cut off my clothes with scissors. She continued by saying, I was terrified. I felt like it was really quite sadistic and her completely dehumanizing attitude towards me, and that they could do what they wanted. I was completely alone in there. I was really frozen with fear and just the pain of it. In footage of the incident reported by the Guardian, police officers can be heard say of Dr. Duff was she rang and a clothes sting. In another clip, one officer references a smell, and then the other officer says, "Oh, it's the knickers." Disgraceful. And then this Metropolitan Police, they're covering up even more actions, right? So we all know about Partygate. We all know what's going on with Boris Johnson and the number 10 parties, right? Well, the fun fact of it is the Metropolitan Police, they're responsible for security of number 10 Downing Street. They have officers posted at every entrance and exit. They check who comes in, they check who goes out, they know who's there, they know what they're doing. The entire place is surveilled, and the Metropolitan Police have access to that. They know exactly what went on in number 10 throughout the lockdowns. They know about all the parties, they know about all the evidence, they know about all this. Yet again, they don't want to admit that they allowed criminal activity to happen. The Metropolitan Police does not care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about citizens. They are a corrupt institution. They are abusers, and they will continue to abuse. And it's not based off whether you're a woman. It's not based off whether you're a man. That's not what it's based off of. It's based off their deluded sense of power and the kicks that they get out of it by abusing people in society. And they don't need specific reason. They're happy to make it up. Whether you're Jewish, whether you're black, whether you're Asian, whether you're a woman, whether you're disabled, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They're just scum, disgusting scum. So please never forget that. This is the people who are meant to protect you. These are the people who are meant to make you feel safe. You ask any person who is in a minority group, you ask any woman in London if they feel safe when they see the police. And I can tell you now, the answer is not yes. This is wrong. Scotland Yard, the Met Police, it needs demolition completely. It needs absolutely getting stripped, hit everyone out, complete overhaul, outside police from other departments and around the country. That's what needs to happen. That's what should happen. It should not be the Met Police anymore. They should all be removed. They should all be sacked. They should all be fired. And in fact, they should be under independent review by all the other agencies. It's just disgraceful and it's disgusting. And enough is enough. And frankly, I feel so sorry for all these people that have had to face abuse by these officers who have used their power in order to abuse so many countless people. And many you will never know, many you will never hear of because it's too afraid to speak up. And that's the reality of it. That is the reality. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below about this horrible, horrible institution that calls themselves our protectors. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.